Hey, I'm Bob, totally blind since birth, into Power Rangers. Got the Shout Factory box set in my hands yet again, and we have finally reached Season 2. We're talking about Episode 61, The Mutiny, Part 1 of 3. Yeah, we have reached the big Season 2 three-part miniseries premiere. So, this three-parter premiered during prime time in the summer of 1994. You got one episode for about 3 weeks. Part 1 would air on July 21st in 1994. I wanted to dedicate this video to my late great grandma. We all lost grandma earlier this summer. It is August 2nd of 2022 as I'm filming this. And Graham was one of those kick butt grandparents who lived to be over 99 years old, and she was always there for the big MMPR toy finds. She never was afraid that I would confuse fiction with reality with shows like Power Rangers. That's why we all loved her so much. She was just ahead of her time, and I wish quite a few folks had been blessed to have had a grandma as cool as mine. I'm sure quite a few of you did. I would love to hear stories about that in the comment section. But yeah, I remember back in 1994, there was no internet. The internet wasn't really a thing yet, so I had to depend on family members to narrate the local Memphis, Tennessee TV guide, TV listings as I was vacationing there. And if it hadn't been for Grandma, I don't think I would have known that we were going to be getting a primetime Power Rangers event, because I don't remember seeing any promos during Batman the Animated Series or Animaniacs. I remember Austin St. John coming in on the night the premiere of Part 1 was going to air. And I think he was like, hey, stay tuned after, was it The Simpsons? I don't even know. And yeah, he was doing a little bumper for that. But other than that, nothing. I mean, if it hadn't been for Graham, I probably would have caught the episodes in syndication. And not in syndication, in reruns, that is to say. I remember seeing some encore presentation promos for the three-parter. We get those a couple Saturday mornings, and Part 3 concluded the encore presentation that September, leading up to the bulk of Season 2, but I don't remember seeing any really big promos for the actual primetime event. But what a premiere it was. I was sitting at the dining room table with my new Dino Megazord. That was an early birthday present from my Aunt Heidi. I'd spent hours learning the ropes of the Megazord's transformation, and I had him right there as Part 1 was premiering. I remember the cast coming on and letting you know what was coming up. Dave Mallow came in with a little Today on Power Rangers teaser segment. He let everybody know that Lord Zed was arriving. I was like, who the heck is Lord Zed? With new putties and great powers. And I remember thinking right then and there, this feels a little too big to be contained in one episode. I remember thinking up until that point, it was just going to be a one and done episode, but oh no, unbeknownst to me, this was going to be a three-parter. If Grandma did mention that in the TV guide, little TV guide blurb, I don't remember that. So any of you guys who have that, let me know. I'm sure there has to be somebody who saved that stuff. I don't know. I wish we had. So yeah, we see the kids participating in a charity motor marathon, and Bulk and Skull are doing their usual thing, threatening to beat the kids in the race. Rita's ecstatic on the moon. Things are going exactly the way she wants them to go. And then I remember hearing that sinister laugh from on high, and Rita was shaking in her shoes. I guess she wears shoes. And I remember Goldar letting everybody know that Lord Zed, the true emperor, had returned. And Rita, I remember her moaning, oh my gosh. And I can remember thinking, this is the only time I've ever heard this woman speaking below a shriek. And I mean, up until that point, Grandma would always call her Miss Big Mouth. She would be in the kitchen doing something or whatever, and she'd be laughing whenever Rita would scream anything or cackle or whatever, especially when Rita would bemoan about her headaches. I remember Grandma saying something once about, if she has so many freaking headaches, why doesn't she send those putty guys down to steal her some Tylenol or something? Geez, you can get rid of a headache like that. does she have Tylenol on the moon or something? She'd do little MST3K bits sometimes as the episode was going on. Yeah, but she'd sit there and watch it too, I think. Probably doing the crossword puzzle in the newspaper too. I don't know. But she had a ball with the show. She always did. So yeah, you'd get the kids starting the race. And I remember hearing Lord Zed actually speaking for the first time. Robert Axelrod did a fantastic job voicing the character. I also wanted to dedicate the video to him. Man, I miss that guy. Never got to meet him, but I really wish I had. Yeah, I remember when he was telling Rita that he was back, he was going to resume command, that she'd failed to complete the mission assigned to her. I was just floored that there was someone, I guess I'd say, worse than Rita. And I remember wondering if he had projected his face into the sky. I never asked what he looked like. I guess I could have, but I was just so wrapped up in the story and the dialogue that I didn't bother asking, hey, what's he look like? What's he look like? I wouldn't get his action figure for a couple of months because Power Rangers merch was crazy hard to find, especially during seasons 1 and 2. My goodness, was that ever hard to come by in toy form. Yeah, I tend to wonder if he projected his face in the sky. It seems like something Lord Zed would do, this big bombastic way of announcing that he was back. And, of course, the kids, they stop their bikes. They know something's going on. They're not sure exactly what. Goldar, he tells Rita to deal with her headache, and he's going to go meet his new emperor. Like I said, the kids are thinking something's going on, but Zordon and Alpha, they haven't communicated yet, so they're just kind of seeing what's going on. They're waiting it out, but I mean, they see all those lightning strikes. It had to look pretty cool. And I mean, then we get to see Goldar going into the Chamber of Command. I love the scene where, well, I'm kind of going by audio clues and you know, context clues and all that. I'm guessing we see his throne materializing, Zed's throne there, and I'm guessing we're seeing it from the back. I've seen this episode, all of these episodes, a boatload of times since they premiered, and I know we hear this whirring as I'm guessing the throne turns around and we actually see Zed. I know we see that snake of his turning into his staff. I do remember that being described to me. My Aunt Heidi's kiddos were there. They were all a few years older than I was, so I don't know what they made of all the wackiness ensuing on screen. But 10-year-old me absolutely loved this big new regime change here. And of course he's giving Goldar back his wings. I do remember my cousin Valerie letting me know, oh yeah, Monkey Guy's got wings now. That's pretty cool. Or something. And yeah, Alpha and Zordon have picked something up on the galactic scanners. And Zordon, I mean, he knows what's going on. The kids, they're, you know, they get the Power Rangers beep from Alpha, and they have to go to the command center. And I love that little bit of dialogue that we get from Zordon as he gives us just a little bit of Zed's backstory. He says Lord Zed has been ruling over darker places within another galaxy, or something along those lines. I just watched this thing like 6 or 7 times before I decided to review it because, I mean, it's one of my favorites. And yeah, I remember thinking, even at that age of around 10, like, where was he? And why don't we get a Lord Zed episode just of him, you know, fighting other heroes? I want to see Lord Zed conquering other planets. Of course, it wouldn't have been allowed, I'm sure. But yeah, 10-year-old me really wanted to see Lord Zed's past, who he was. I don't think his skinless visage was described to me yet. I figured he might have been wearing armor, but I wasn't sure exactly what he looked like. But I always wondered how Zordon knew him, what their past was like. Of course, now we get that in the Boom Studios comics, which I really wish had some full cast Audible Studios releases. Man, I'd love those. But yeah, I was just blown away by that little bit of dialogue. I remember my imagination firing on all cylinders there. And I mean, then you got Lord Zed laughing off Goldar's suggestion to send the putties down. We see Zed conjuring up his own army of putties. I remember thinking these guys were probably a lot more heavily armored than Rita's. I didn't own any action figures by that point, just a Megazord and an 8-inch tall Blue Ranger. But I remember thinking maybe these putties were more buff. Of course they're not. They've just got the little armor vests on and the Z's. But boy, that was probably a pretty cool scene there. And of course, we have Bulk and Skull crashing their bikes, and they're kind of arguing back and forth with each other as to what to do next. And you get that really cool scene where Lord Zed strips Rita of her powers and reduces her in size, takes her wand away, seals her up in a little miniature version of that dumpster, and she is cast out into parts unknown. I remember my grandma thinking, well, geez, or she said this or something like that. She said something along the lines of, man, yeah, I was kind of hoping to see more of her. And of course, Rita, she's letting the audience know that you haven't seen the last of Rita Repulsa, and she cackles as she's being hurled into space. And I mean, even I knew that, yeah, she's probably going to come back and try to take over, which I was really looking forward to. And I mean, you get that really cool putty battle. The kids are watching the viewing globe, and they got to morph into action because Bulk and Skull are being menaced by the putties. And Jason surmises their Z's as their weak spots. What a cool battle that was. Still don't know if the putties actually shatter like glass when you punch them in the Z's, or if you just see their heads and arms falling off like the 90s Bandai versions. Boy, I used to love that thing. It was hard for me to find all of its pieces, though. But I still really enjoyed having one of my Rangers punch the Z and having the putty explode. Yeah, what a fun putty fight that was there. And we get some really cool Ron Wasserman music in this episode. I loved hearing Lord Zed's theme whenever he showed up. I didn't own the CD. I didn't even know they made a CD with just Lord Zed's track along with so many others. But really would have loved to have owned that. Of course, now you can listen to the music whenever you want to these days. But yeah, really cool Ron Wasserman music during the putty fights. Might have been the first time I actually heard Wasserman's stuff. I'm not really sure about that, but one of the first times anyway. And you have Tommy really struggling to stay in the fight because his powers are somewhat limited. This is like, I think one of the first times I remember seeing him low on energy. I hadn't seen the green candle by this point. I remember putting the pieces together as I went, wondering what the heck's going on with Tommy. I just saw this guy joining the Ranger team, and now we're seeing him low on power. Did I miss something? I really want to see this episode. I remember thinking to myself after the putties were defeated and they went back to the command center. And I mean, Lord Zed, he's laughing off the defeat. He's going to create a monster called Paranta's Head and send him down to combat the Rangers. I would say, I wish Hasbro would make that. But, well, they already have. Maybe I'll get around to unboxing this Lightning Collection action figure at some point. But yeah, here he is in his package. Haven't opened him yet. Yeah, this is our first monster of Lord Zed's. I had him as a kid too. He was a pretty cool looking fish monster. And yeah, he goes down. The Rangers have to go back into action, as Jason says, back to action in this episode. Isn't it for the first time too? I don't know. And he's menacing them, and they have to summon the Dinozords. They don't even wait for him to grow. Here come the Zords, and then he freezes them all. And I remember one of my cousins saying something like, gee, you just got that Megazord here, and I'm wondering if they're going to introduce new Zords so you'll want new toys for Christmas, Bob, when the cliffhanger was upon us, I should say. And we get that big to be continued when Jason says, oh man, he froze the Zords, we're history. And yeah, that was it. And I loved that cliffhanger. I loved waiting a week and speculating as to what was going to happen next. What a cool Season 2 premiere this was. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, I'd just gotten into Star Wars, having seen the trilogy a few times. I remember thinking Lord Zed was like Emperor Palpatine, whereas Rita was similar to Vader. I had no idea there was someone worse than Rita, and I could not wait to see what was going to happen next. So what a fun episode this was. If you guys have any memories pertaining to when you first saw this episode, share them in the comment section. Hopefully this hasn't been too long of a video, but I've got nothing but fond memories concerning this particular three-parter. Nothing like watching this with family and with a group of people that support your fandom And it was a fun experience. I'll be talking a lot more about that as we review these season 2 episodes. So be here next time as we talk about the Mutiny Part 2. And I'll hear you then. May the power protect you.